What's up, guys? Frugal BC. Today we are talking about Lofty AI, giving you an update on everything that's going on with the platform, and we're gonna decide whether it's worth it for 2024. If you should still be investing in Lofty on the Algorand blockchain. Hope everyone's doing well out there today. If you haven't hit the like button or subscribe button already, I'd very much appreciate you guys doing that. As I always say, you don't have to smash it; you could just press it gently. But subscribe to see all our updates, all our crypto experiments. We just do the experiment, and let you know what works and what doesn't. And one of the ones that we've been tracking is Lofty. And before we get into Lofty, I want to thank our sponsors, non-fungible domains. Yeah, you can get that .algo address, which makes things a lot easier than using the big long letters and numbers. Just mine's frugalbc.algo, super easy. So we love non-fungible domains. Thanks so much for them for sponsoring the show, as well as Fractal Monsters, which have a great play-to-earn game on the Algorand blockchain, and you don't have to buy anything. You can actually play it for free, but if you want to earn, then you have to buy one of the little critters. I have one myself and enjoy playing it a lot, especially with the different modes. It's kind of like a cross between Pokemon and Tamagotchi. So check that out. With all of our sponsors have links in the description below. And let's get to Lofty AI. So I want to share this first because I thought this was really interesting. They shared their experience with Lofty AI, and it very much matched mine. So I want to go through this. I actually haven't looked at this in a while, so I can't remember exactly what it said. So we'll explore it together. Okay, so this says my experience with Lofty after 2 years. I've been invested in Lofty AI since October 2021, and I think that's around. I think I got on it right away, so I might have actually been in it longer. But let's see. I'd have to go back and look. October 2021, although I didn't finish purchasing most of my tokens until the end of that year. I haven't purchased any tokens since then, so I figured I've been in it roughly 2 years. And I like this because this is like I bought all these tokens and then I just left them. It's a little bit long. You can see the rent earned, different percentages, and this is really interesting. Because there's projected rental yield and actual, and you can see some of them are flat out zero. Actually, a lot of them are flat out zero. That is something that happened to me as well. And I'll get to my numbers, but like something like half my properties aren't paying. So here's what he said. Overall, I'm not super thrilled with the performance of my properties. 9 out of 14 of my properties are currently receiving no rent. And mine, I'm actually not quite that bad, but some of it's because I bought some more recently. Despite 11 out of 14 being valued at higher than my purchase price by Lofty, only one of my properties is sold over $50 a token on the secondary market. So yeah, that's something I haven't tried to sell any of my tokens. I'm gonna guess that it's tough to sell some of these tokens if they're not earning rent at the moment. I think people are gonna look at that and say, oh, I don't want to touch that. It's not receiving any rent. And you can see that if you dig deeper into the Lofty platform. My initial investment was $2,500. And as you'll see, I'm up to about 3,000. My current valuation based on actual secondary market sales prices would be only $2,043. So even if I had my rental income of $264, I'd still have lost money on this investment. I will say I did not lose money, so I'm happy about that. Ultimately, I'll probably keep my tokens because I don't immediately need the money, and my hope is that these properties will either start renting again or will be sold for an amount higher than what I'd get on the current secondary market. I'm also willing to let it ride for multiple years, decades, and by the way, yeah, you should. When you buy into this stuff, I mean, you should be thinking long term, not like I want to get rich tomorrow. But I do think it's a little troubling, and we'll get into that. Anyway, he says he just kind of finishes saying, anyway, I thought you guys might appreciate seeing my results, and I did because I think his is more of a natural experiment than mine was, because I actually have been slowly adding to it, which is actually probably more natural in how someone would approach Lofty. I don't think they would just buy it all at once typically and then just never buy anymore. I've been buying them continuously. Buying the ones that worked better, I've been putting more money into. Like, so the triple net McDonald's property that everyone calls it the McDonald's property in Iowa. It's a good investment because it's like 6%. So that's not super exciting, but it's been solid. It's always paid rent and it's always going to pay rent. It's just a solid property because you have like 4 tenants that are just long-term businesses that probably aren't going anywhere, and you're going to keep making that money. And we'll get into some of my investments later. Before I get into my own experience, I want to show you some upcoming stuff from Lofty, which I think is kind of cool. One of these is a liquidity market, an AMN for Lofty tokens. So let's dig into what that looks like. So this is not live yet. Liquid real estate is coming. Meet the world's first liquidity pool for real estate powered by Algorand. Blend real world asset stability with DeFi upside. And you can see right now there's a wait list. I think the alpha is coming very, very soon. We'll show that in a second. So access to stable asset class, real estate value is uncorrelated with crypto prices. That is true. That is one of the reasons why I recommend this, because as a good way to diversify, because I was still earning rent on these properties when crypto was at its absolute worst. So it's a good stabilizing factor for a crypto portfolio. And so you can put your crypto to work, your crypto holdings to work. Greater the spread, they earn an estimated 6% plus APY. The greater the spread in the lofty real estate trading marketplace, the greater your return. Enjoy transparency, mitigate impermanent loss. Unlike crypto, real estate is a physical asset with generally agreed upon value range in the multi-trillion-dollar real estate market. Yeah, that's one thing I like. My favorite pair right now on the Tiny Man farms is the US dollar coin, US dollar tether pair, because it's going to stay a dollar. So you're not going to, there is no impermanent loss as far as I know. If I'm missing something, let me know, but I don't think so. And yeah, they're just kind of selling it basically, but I don't understand how it's going to work exactly. Like, so are you going to have pairs of properties? There's not a lot of explanation of how that particular part will work. Why people love Lofty. Did they explain it? So AMN enables seamless transactions, setting property prices with algorithms, eliminating traditional order books, ensuring smooth market activity by automatically adjusting prices based on supply and demand. Okay, so that kind of makes sense. So it sounds like this is going to set the prices more than like following the market, which is kind of interesting. I kind of wonder how that's going to work. I find that really fascinating, but I wonder how it's going to work in practice. That's going to be really interesting to see, because I wonder how much divergence there might be from like actual market values of these tokens versus the marketplace itself. You know, right now you saw that person saying that, well, even though these tokens have theoretically gone up in value, no one's paying me more than 50. And so it kind of makes you wonder. It's like, yeah, well, if I can just buy a brand new token for $50, why get one that's already appreciated? Unless I think it's going to be appreciating more. And I bet a lot of people are thinking the market's probably going to come down a little bit. So yeah, that'll be really interesting. And it's going to be super interesting to see how that works when it becomes unpaired to, unless I'm misunderstanding that. You know, one of the issues I have is a lot of these websites are less informative and more sales pitchy. And I think we kind of saw that there. That's something that's frustrating, because I really want to know more about how it works more specifically, but it is what it is. Let's see what the founder of Lofty, or one of the co-founders, I was dealing with Max a lot, and I'd asked Max about coming on the channel, and they said they weren't doing any interviews. And then I've seen Jerry Chu, who we're going to hear from here in a minute. I saw he was going on some shows, so I don't know, it would have been nice to get a heads up, but I was kind of smaller back then when I was asking. So this is one of the latest posts from Jerry Chu. He says, we're getting closer than ever to the official launch of AMM liquidity pools. Our team is compiling a list of users to participate in our closed beta test this week. I did not sign up for the waitlist. I'll let other people hash it out. I don't mind being a little later on this one. Only 50 spots available. First come, first serve. So they just want to get their hands on it. They want to try it out, see how it works. Yeah, very interesting. Now, the fact that it's decentralized, I think, is important. I think that's good for the ecosystem. I think that's something we want to see with most crypto projects. Now, I know I differ from a lot of people that I think decentralization is on a spectrum, and like 100% decentralization isn't always fully the answer, but it kind of depends on the situation. Here, like, yeah, I don't know if I want it 100% decentralized. I think I do want someone kind of making sure things are working right. So it's a balance, in my opinion, and it's a spectrum, and I think it's good when we move closer to decentralization. It tends to make things more permissionless, less gatekeepers. But I also want to make sure bad actors are kept at bay. So, and then, well, I just want to talk about my own experience, because it did mirror a lot of the other person's, you know, the one we just shared earlier in the show here. It's very similar. My experience is very similar, except I have actually taken some steps to mitigate that. And, well, let's just take a look. Yeah, so here's my portfolio. You can see the value is pretty close. I'm actually up to almost 3,000 in property now, with a total of $188.69 earned. And a lot of people don't understand that I didn't have that 29, almost 3,000 the whole time. If it's been slowly added to, so it's not like 2,900 earned $188 in rent. It was actually quite a bit less. But that's real money. You can withdraw it and send it to your bank. You can just use it towards more properties, which is what I've been doing. And you can see my historical return is 8.64%. That's been going up lately, mostly because I added new properties. But the main thing is that I've been adding new ones that actually pay, because right now, if you look, the ones that are empty, you got total rent, current rent balance. You can see some have current rent balance and some have nothing. The ones with nothing, those are the ones that just have not been earning. Look at this Chicago one. It's actually gone way down in value and is not paying rent. So that's a great combination. Now, what happens here, you might wonder, like, well, is it just people not paying rent? Well, sometimes they have new leases, but then there's so much damage that has to be mitigated that they spend down the reserve, and then you have to put a bunch of money back into the reserve to refund, replenish the reserve so that you have money when the next tenant breaks stuff. And it's been bad. I highlighted this on other Lofty videos I've made, but one was like the tenant left and they just canceled the heat in the middle of winter, and the property manager should absolutely have been keeping track of that. Because I don't know if you're in sunny places, you might not know, but in the winter, you cannot leave a building unheated. If you leave it unheated, unless you drain the water. My dad and I just a couple weeks ago were up at the cabin draining all the water out so we could winterize it. So we don't have to leave the heat on. Because what happens is the water freezes in the pipes and destroys them, and then you just have a giant mess. And that's what happened at one of these. I think it was the Cleveland one, maybe. One of the Cleveland ones is, I think it might be this one right here on the screen, this on 19th Street. I don't remember exactly. I had it in my last video, but yeah, that causes a lot of damage, and then you just end up paying for that damage. But then some of the more recent ones, now you can see these have been paying. This one, I think both of these, this Atlanta one and this Black Hawk, Colorado one, are both Airbnbs, and they've been paying pretty consistently. That was a little experiment. And then this Jackson Avenue one is closer to what I'm looking for because it's a 10 unit. And when you have that many units, if you got one or two people not paying rent, or they're vacant, you still got rent coming in. And that's what I want to see. And that's also just a great rent yield, 13%. Of course, 18.4% is fantastic, but also a little more risky. I think the two Airbnb ones are a little risky. And then there's this newest one, and you can't see it because Max needs to go away here. There we go. This newest one, this luxury hotel boutique in Tulum. What's cool about this one is it's like there's a fund, so 5 years of rent is basically guaranteed. So that's going to show up. That's a 10% yield, not bad. So that one's been consistently paying, but that one's pretty new. So right now, I just ran the numbers today, and I still have 13 properties not paying. That hasn't changed too much. It was a little higher. It was like 14, 15 at one point, but then they started paying again. But I'm earning 35 cents a day from my rental payments, and that is the highest it's been in quite a long time, mostly because of these new properties I'm adding. They could add to my woes later. I don't know. So do I think that Lofty is a good investment for the coming year, for 2024? I do actually think it's a good investment. The caveat is you really got to diversify. I would stay away from single family or duplexes. I would stick with multifamily. These Airbnb ones are interesting. I don't think they're gonna have some of the same problems because you don't have to evict anybody typically unless there's some really weird situation. Those do happen. I would stick with multifamily, or if you can, the McDonald's one's still out there. There's plenty of tokens. There's like 5 figures worth of tokens. So you can always get those. I know 6% isn't that exciting, but it's solid. It's never not paid. I've had that one pretty much since it was offered, and I've added to it. And the multifamily one, it just gives you some cushion, because if 1 or 2 isn't paying, the rest probably will. And it's for that just not to pay anything. Like all the properties would have to be gone, or there have to be so much damage that all the money's going to the reserve. So very interesting. I know they made some changes with PMs too, and I think the platform. Here's one of the things I want to talk about too. I think the platform is working way better than it used to be. So I might actually add it back to my recommendations, because a lot of the bugs that were there seem to be fixed now. I still think the new way of buying is way more clunky than the old one. It was so smooth in the beginning. It was just seamless, and now it's kind of a pain. You have to use the Lofty, unless they fix the bug. For a while, the external wallet wasn't working. And I actually got kind of a snotty response from one of the, I think it might have been Jerry, but it was one of them that's like, oh, we put that in the Discord. Yeah, well, you got to put that everywhere else. You should put that in the updates on the Lofty platform, don't you think? If you actually can't use an external wallet, which is sort of the point. So a lot of them I've been using the internal wallet, which is, it is what it is, but then you have to make sure you have enough algo and enough USDC, and I don't know, it's just kind of complicated where it was easy before. But overall, it still works. You can still use it. And I think it's a good way to diversify your crypto holdings, so not everything is just pure price action, but you have some real world assets. So overall, I give Lofty, yeah, I'd say it's usable. It's still not perfect. It's definitely improved since my last review. Maybe a 7 out of 10, maybe an 8 out of 10. I think it's worthwhile, but just make sure you go in with the expectation that the percentage yield you see might not be what you end up getting. And I would definitely make sure you have multiple properties. Don't put all your money in one property because it's pretty easy for it to just not pay. So that's my Lofty video. Let me know if you guys invest in Lofty. Let me know in the comments below. I will have a link to Lofty, I think, in this video. I think I'm adding it back to my recommendations. And otherwise, I'm Frugal BC, and I will see you in the future.